痛みを感じろ。痛みを考えろ。
Call halal, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKadash. I'm back with you with another straight to the point moment, dealing with the tenets and doctrine of life, which is this new covenant and the gospel and testimony that must be preached forth throughout the four corners of the earth before the time of restitution, aka salvation, shall come. And here we are again with another sharing of wisdom on this wisdom gauntlet. And today's sharing of wisdom will come from the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. Now we're going to key in on verse 6, but I want to read the precursing verses above it to give the context and understanding in what we're going to go into today. And this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them. So the context of these scriptures, in particular 1 through 6, is about the souls of the righteous. Now, before we move on, we want to know who the righteous are. Before we move on, let's find out who the righteous are before we move on. Bear with me. All right. And I'm going to do this I'm going to start in the book of Deuteronomy 6 and 25, dealing with the righteous, and then I'm going to go to a perpendicular scripture. What I mean by perpendicular, things that align together, that correlate together, but on separate planes. So Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25. All right, dealing with the righteous, in which we read in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25, because this is what makes us righteous. Now, what makes a person righteous? Deuteronomy chapter 6, and we'll start at verse 24. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is this day. So remember, the context in Wisdom of Solomon 3:1 is about the souls of the righteous being preserved. Remember that context now. All right. As a matter of fact, before we move on, let's read it. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 verse 1. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them. So this is literally correlating, which I stated in my statement, perpendicular. All right, scriptures that go along together and contextual understanding, and they correlate and are literally the same context, but they're on different planes or parallels of understanding. All right, so now Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 24. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, which we see in the first commandment, and we also see a reference again in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. For our good always. For what? Our good always. That he might preserve us alive. That he might what? Preserve us alive. This is keeping us from torment, that we read in Wisdom of Solomon 3:1. As it is at this day. Verse 25. And it shall be our righteousness. Now, who are these that do these things? Those who keep the statutes, those who fear the Lord for their good always, that they might be preserved. These are the righteous men. These are the righteous women. These are the righteous. All right. Verse 25. And it shall be our righteousness. So this is our righteousness, if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us. So this is our righteousness. This is what makes us righteous, when we keep the commandments. Now we see this same parallel, this same perpendicular in the book of Revelations. Chapter 22. And I believe it's at verse 14. Yeah, here we go. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter into and through the gates into the city. So these are the righteous, those that do his commandments, and those who do not do his commandments that are without. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. So these are the sinners. So the righteous are those that do the commandments, that shall no torment touch them, and those who are without are all these who are established as what? Sinners. Let us move on in a continuing of our reading in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 verse 2. In the sight of the unwise, so what we read in Revelation 22 verse 15, the unwise are the sinners. In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die, and their departure is taken for misery. Verse 3, and they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. Remember, he said, great peace have they that what? This is Psalms chapter 119. Let's get that. Psalms chapter 119, so that we know what the peace is. Psalms chapter 119, verse 165. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. And this is what he means in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3, verse 1, about we shall escape torment, and the souls of the righteous are in the hand of who? The Father. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them, in what we read in Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 3. And they're going from us to be utter destruction, but they are in peace. Verse 4. For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality, and they shall have right to the what? The tree of life. This is what we've seen in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 25, Revelations chapter 22 verse 14 and 15. All right, we shall have right to that tree, and we shall enter into the city, into those gates. All right, verse 5. And having been a little chastised, so this is our punishment. We've been chastised for what? Righteousness. All right, we've been chastised for his name's sake. All right, this is what I mean. Name goes into doctrine. All right, and having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded, for God proved them. So our chastisement for righteousness, for what? Righteous, not sin, not the continuation of ignorance, not the so-called blind faith and false belief that just because we believe we shall be saved, but because of this right here. For God proved them. He proved us, as we've seen in the example in Hamashiach being proved in the wilderness by Satan himself. For God proved them and found them worthy for himself, meaning blameless. Verse 6, and this brings us to the key point. Verse 6, Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 6. As gold in the furnace hath he tried. This is for God proved them, that we see in verse 5. And received them as a burnt offering. As what? Received them as a burnt offering. And this is us making ourselves a living sacrifice. Let us meditate heavy. Heavy. Now I want to read that verse 6 again in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 verse 6 so that we can understand the similitude what we're going to get in the book of Daniel. So Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 verse 6. As gold in the furnace hath he tried them. And our trial is by what? The chastisement for righteousness. Verse 6 again. And received them as a burnt offering. And I gave the statement as making ourselves a living sacrifice, which is according to the letter we read in the New Testament, and it's also scriptural. Now let's see this same example in the book of Daniel chapter 3, and we'll start down at verse 6. Daniel 3 and 6, same as Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 6. And whoso falleth down, and whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Now this goes into a similitude of things, a multiplicity similitude of things, meaning they had to fall down and worship an idol, a different king, give themselves unto what? A different purpose and a set of rules and laws and those things outside of the thing and covenant that was pertaining to God. Now we see the example here with Daniel and Nebuchadnezzar. Let's read it again. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth shall the same hour be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the cornet flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And this is what we see in similitude in Revelations chapter 13 and chapter 14, about those who should take the mark of the beast and worship his name. Now, we shared this information or details upon this prophecy months ago. But again, this touches on it, all right? About the worshiping of the image of the beast, about taking upon his name. And the image of the beast shall be what? The mark of a man, 666. It should be a man. Let us continue on. Daniel chapter 3, verse 8. Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. The Jews. Verse 9. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Verse 10, O king, Salaki, thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. Verse 11, and whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that he should be cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Verse 12, there are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the providence of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. So again, just like these men, these kings, right? These men that were set over the Jews, all right, that were Jews, all right? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee. They serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. And now you have men now in the same likeness as Hamashiach, as the same likeness as man and Daniel, that will not serve to Mammon. They will not serve a different God, a different king. They will not break the commandments of God. They will not break that covenant. But let us continue on. All right. Verse 13. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, Shadrach, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up. Verse 15. Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? And this is what we're doing. He said, who shall stand up for me for righteousness? Who shall stand up for me against the evildoers? These are supposed to be men of integrity that will not bend nor break, but will keep the covenant that God has established with them in their heart. This is the writing of the law upon our heart. You have men like that right now who truly serve God in truth and in spirit. But then you have those who serve him and are servicing him by their mouth only. All right? So we wanted to get this example today to share the wisdom. Because our trial by fire is, are we going to keep the integrity of God? Are we going to keep his commandments? Through death or through life? Are we going to keep his commandments? Let us continue on. All right? Let us continue. Verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve. So who did they serve? Our God whom we serve. They served Yahweh. Is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. Verse 18. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. So whether it be through life or death, whether God saved them or not, they were going to serve the Father and not serve other gods, nor serve him as king. This is heavy, man. Heavy. Now, this is the direct similitude of what we see in 2 Maccabees chapter 7 and chapter 6. But let us continue. Verse 19. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. Verse 20. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, their hats, and their other garments. So these men wore fringes, right? Their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Verse 22. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What did the flame? Who did it kill? The men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound in the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake and said unto his counselors, Did we not cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. Verse 25. He answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men. How many men? 4 men. But it was 3 men cast into the fire. Cast in to be tried for their integrity, tried for their covenant, their law, and their statutes of their God, not to break it. But notice it says here in verse 25, he answered and said, Lo, I see 4 men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Let us meditate upon wisdom. Heavy. Heavy. Heavy, man. This is heavy. Heavy. Back to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3. Before we move on, because this all correlates, all right? This is all perpendicular and parallel. Heavy, man. Heavy. Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 6. As gold in the furnace hath he tried them. And we got an example in the book of Daniel chapter 3 about men. The souls of righteous men are in the hand of God, and there shall no torment touch them, according to Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 1. Verse 2, in the sight of the unwise they seem to die. You seen the correlation in Daniel chapter 3. Reading verse 6 again from the top. As gold in the furnace hath he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. Now notice here in the book of Psalms chapter 4 verse 5, we see the same repetition of understanding. Psalms chapter 4 verse 4. Stand in awe and sin not. Do what? Stand in awe. And sin not. Do what? Stand in awe. And sin not. Commune with your own heart. What did he sow in our heart? His righteousness, his law. Commune with your own heart upon your bed and be still. Salah. They gave reference to this in the book of Daniel when they said, if it be so, if our God be with us or without us, we will not serve thy gods. Roughly paraphrasing. Verse 5. Offer the sacrifices of the righteousness. Do what? Offer the sacrifices of the righteousness. Do what? Offer the sacrifices of the righteousness. And put your trust in the Lord. Heavy. 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 And with that, I want to give all praises to Kahala, Yahweh, Bahashim, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ruka, Ha, Kadash. Repent and keep the commandments of God and the faith of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Shalom Akim. Let us meditate. Heavy.
Shot,